My name is Kwame Owino. I work at the Institute of Economic Affairs, and on behalf of the IE and its membership, we invite you to our 9th webinar of the year 2022. So the subject of our discussion today is rural solarization in Kenya. And this is important for many reasons. I think the first is that access to energy, obviously, for not only household use, especially at the household level, an important parameter of development. It's usually a signal of how fast a country is going. It opens up opportunities for incomes. It opens up opportunities for provision and expansion of public services, for information, and obviously public welfare is expanded. We are conscious that in the administration, the Jubilee administration, I think there's been heavy expansion of electricity grid and provision of energy to households. Which has expanded it obviously from about 2 million to close to 7 million or 8 million people, based on the numbers that I saw today. Regardless of that, not every household has equal access or affordable access, but at the same time, the reliability of the power that is provided through the grid in Kenya is questionable. And I think one of the things that's available for us to ask is, how do we fix not just those last mile questions, but also how do we make sure that access is more widely available through mechanisms that, one, are safe, mechanisms that obviously provide for less carbon emissions, less intense in terms of the resources that are required to place it in and affordable to households in an environmentally sustainable way. So that's one of the options that's available, is obviously the expansion of of solar power. So today we have with us Mr. Solomon Muturi, who's the Managing Director of Sydenham Power, who will make a case for us about what's the state of play, but at the same time try to tell us to what extent Sydenham is involved in this sector, trying to expand the options that are available for Kenyan households for the availability of solar energy within the country. So without further fuss, I'll invite Mr. Solomon Muturi. He's a Managing Director of Sydenham Power and obviously a past chair of the Board of Directors of the Board of Directors of the Institute of Economic Affairs and a member of the Institute of Economic Affairs. So Mr. Muturi, you're welcome.
Thank you very much. I hope you can hear me.
Yes, we can hear you. Thanks.
Thank you, Kwame, for the introduction and the opening comments, remarks in regard to solarization of the rural communities. It's indeed a subject that has been discussed far and wide, not just here in Kenya, but in very many parts of the world, because obviously the issue of clean energy is not just critical here in Kenya, but throughout the world. And indeed, we thought that the best thing is to have this forum so that we can be able to look at not just what we understand as Sydenham in regard to solar energy in the rural sector or rural communities, but also to hear from the participants what they think about the same, exchange ideas, get hybrid, and see how best we can improve the same in respect of our rural society, because all of us have a rural society where we come from, and we know the challenges of power faced by these rural communities and the struggles that they go through in regard to using kerosene, using diesel, and in some respects, even firewood. They light the fire, cook without the luxury, lighting other than the embers or the flames that are coming from the firewood. So when you designed this program, this presentation, we are not coming from, far removed world, so far as those challenges of lighting and energy are concerned in our rural communities. So this discussion will take us through the small units that are used in the rural areas, called the Pico. Introduce ourselves to the Pico solar systems, the developments in the micro solar systems in rural Kenya, which are slightly bigger than the Pico. We look at the future of Pico and micro solar systems, still in Kenya, and of course doing a bit of comparatives with other communities. We look at how to select power systems and panels so that we can be informed on how best to make a good decision. I'm also aware that our society is inclined to used items, not just the cars, the clothes and all that. And so in that regard, we put in a section on whether to use used solar PV systems or to go for new ones. And we decide not to use used solar PV systems. If we decide not to use them, why? We need to answer that question. And at the same time, we decide to use the same. Where can we use used PV systems? So in this regard, we are looking at strictly the Pico systems because they are very popular in the rural, communities. Now, of course, we begin by asking ourselves, what are they? What is Pico? Pico is very small photovoltaic systems that are used in independent appliances to provide light. For solar lanterns, I'm sure you've seen them, participants, for radios, for chargers, for MP3 players. We also have our own simplistic torches that use the Pico photovoltaic. Now, they are limited in capacity, but because of their design, they're able to give very bright light. They're able to serve the purpose for which they intended. If you go to the rural areas, you always hear people talking about solar chargers. And we buy them at maybe 1,000 shillings, 800 shillings. Very expensive by any standards. But these are the Picos that serve that community. We have, in the rural communities, people using solar charged radios. This is an example of Pico systems that you're talking about. So they're not really, it's not anything that is far removed. It's only that now we are defining them for what they are as a Pico. They have very small capacities of 0.3 WP, where WP means watts peak. And what is our watts peak? That's the highest charge that they can receive at the peak. Maybe when the radiation is high, or when the sun is at its hottest. So you can see these are very minute capacities. But because of the designs of these systems, they are able to convert that power to the intended purpose. These are systems, when they are just slightly expanded, they can be set to light up 1 room, 2 rooms, 3 rooms, depending on the number of bulbs that you're trying to attach to your system. And of course, practically, this is what has been happening in the rural areas. The beauty is that people are able to just pick the system and do the installation themselves. It's not rocket science. And obviously, they do so because they realize that, first of all, there's a lot of money to be saved by using this system as opposed to maybe even going to the grid. The grid is very expensive. It's very unreliable. It's prone to a lot of fluctuating service. This minute you are serviced, the next minute is gone. And at the same time, we need to realize that even as we talk about rural applicability to the rural communities, the same is applicable to low-income urban areas. I don't want to mention the low-income urban areas because people are very, very sensitive, but we all know them. And when you walk about, you find tiny little solar panels on tops of the roofs. And what comes to mind is that these people this has been funded not just to apply in the households. You find a mama boga with a small tiny little bulb, extending the number of hours of commercial activity from the normal, maybe 9 up to 5, 9 up to 6:30 or 7, by a further up to 6 hours, because these Pico systems are able to write up for up to 6.5 hours or 6 hours. And this development has really helped a lot of our people in the rural areas, or better still, in the low-income urban areas, because of the expansion of the business hours. Now, if you drive through the markets that are strewn all over our roads on the way home, I'll give you an example. Go to Muranga. Just before you get to Muranga, there is a place called Bombo where they sell bananas, fruits, and so on. They use these Pico systems. The mama boy in his kibanda has a small bulb with a tiny little solar panel connected. So when others are shutting down at 6:30, him or her is able to continue for another 6 hours or 4 hours, depending on the demand. And at zero extra charge other than the initial outlay of 800 shillings, so 1,500. And this tiny little bulb, charged by the solar, has a facility on top where you can be able to charge the phone. So throughout the commercial activity for the day, they are very well prepared. The phone is charged, you can receive money by M-Pesa, you can make calls for extra supply of stock. In the evening, the mama boga is able to switch on the bulb and continue with the business for some extra hour and earn some income. So they're very helpful. Hello? Let's go to the next slide, please. Let's see what people feel. Can you hear me? Okay, the joy of micro solar systems in rural areas. These are little video. You can watch it. Okay. Now, when you look at that video, you are able to pick the practical application of the Pico system. It's in a rural area. Second thing, the installation is very, very straightforward. You don't need an engineer to do it for you. Just buy and do the installation. 3, you can see that there is an improvement from just a normal writing to a step higher. The Pico system now evolves such that the household is able to watch a solar-driven television set from the same solar box. And I'm sure you can discern from the video a lot of excitement by the tiny little kids. These are children who, in absence of the development of the Pico systems, will never have had a chance to watch a TV in this 21st century. So these children will be able to access news from the TV, get to know what is happening in other parts of the world, get entertained, and at the same time, they have the writing every evening, and they can be able to continue their studies after school, do their homework. And this is in our rural home in Narok. The evolution of Pico systems. Next. Now these are the evolution would ordinarily commence from the normal solar portable lights. That just gives an option to lighting away from the normal kerosene lamps, a bit of USB charging facility, and they cost about $10 to $40 in the market. Now, we moved from there as Kenya and graduated into the solar housing system, and is able to supply multiple LEDs, bulbs. LED means LED bulbs, small radios, a TV, and so on. But as we advanced, we're able to expand into slightly bigger systems, much more expensive, that can have power high-tech TVs, that can power even a refrigerator, totally replacing kerosene and diesel as a main source of power. But of course, you can see as we evolve, they become much more expensive. A simple SHS or solar housing system will maybe cost between $50 and $100, like the one that you just seen. But as you expand now to start, using the fridges and so on, it becomes much more expensive, even above $200. So when you look at this evolution, we can see that there's been significant milestones which have been achieved in regard to Pico and the microsystems. Reason being that these Pico and microsystems are being installed by private players in the market, as opposed to the previous paradigm where solarization was the domain of the donor community and the government. The shift has been in regard to now people taking charge of their own needs and going ahead to liaise with the private players to provide solutions. Because of course the donors used to concentrate much more on bigger projects, feeding onto the grid, and customers buying from the grid. But today, people are saying, I want solar for my house, I want this small unit, let me just go ahead and install the same. At the same time, there's been a lot of innovations moving away from buying off the shelf in cash to the deferred payment system of the pay-as-you-go. What does this mean? We have players who install these systems into the rural households, into low-income urban households, and you pay as you go. You charge 20 shillings per day, 30 shillings, 100 shillings, depending on your applications. And this has been assisted by the mobile telephony. So this has expanded the access of these Pico systems and ecosystems throughout the rural communities and also the low-income urban centers. But of course, we get to see a lot of products that have a wide range of functionality. We moved from just lighting, we moved into lighting the household, to lighting of small boutique businesses by the roadside. We move into providing power for fridges, so that you go to a rural shop and you're able to buy a drink, a Fanta, some ice cream, some yogurt from a fridge that is purely solar driven. So you're becoming much more commercial. And of course, in the agricultural sector, we've made a lot of strides wherein these systems are being used to draw water from initially very shallow wells, 50 feet, 70 feet, 100 feet. So that today we're able to draw water using solar energy from as deep as 300 meters. So you see, these functionalities have now moved to not just commercial, but into agri-business. So that's a major milestone. And of course, the prices have moved from being prohibitive to being very, very reasonable, because of course there's been a lot of innovation, a lot of improvements on what is on offer in the market. And at the same time, we still have the pay-as-you-go systems, where you pick your irrigation system, lay it out, and you're paying slowly by slowly until such a time that you're able to finish off the installments and the system becomes yours. Now, the beauty of it is that the rural communities have been able to improve their incomes, grow your tomatoes, onions, cabbages, and so on, available to the market throughout the year. And this has been had a very significant impact on the rural agricultural communities. This issue of improved quality. What do I mean here? Initially, you'd find that even the panels, they would have very limited lifespans. They used to be very weighty. They never used to be efficient. You're told that this panel will do 130 watts, 400 watts. Actually, it's only the other day that we have had 400 watts to 420 watts. They used to go up to 300. So now, with one panel of 400 watts, you're able to do as much, multi-functions, as opposed to getting a panel for each and every functionality. So this improvement in the quality is better value for money, because you're not forced to duplicate so many different panels for different functions or services that you want to receive. So in a nutshell, we are saying that we have taken a very huge step from what I would call limited application to multifaceted application. Now let's think about Africa. We compare ourselves. There's been a lot of installations in Africa. We have a lot of sunshine. Kenya alone is reading with in excess of 947,000 units cumulatively, now going into millions, followed by Ethiopia in that order. Don't forget that what you have in front of you is an indication of what has been reported. There are so many of these Pico systems which have been brought here backstreet, and they're never recorded. I'm sure you're wondering why Nigeria has less connectivity to Pico systems as compared to Kenya. Well, Nigeria has a lot of fuel. They rely so much on genset, but they are catching up. They are realizing the need for clean energy, the need for green energy, the need to conserve the environment. Rwanda is also very serious with it. It's catching up very fast. But by and by, Kenya remains the top in terms of the uptake of Pico systems. What this means also is that we are maturing. We are gradually getting out of the Pico systems into the solar housing systems. And that's why you find that many households are now going into fully writing their applications by solar. Everything, even fridges, even ironing, and so on. But of course, it's quite expensive. But you're getting to that maturity as a country. There's been an increase in demand for these Pico systems owing to various factors, as I've alluded to in my discussion. First being the price of fuel. Today it's going at 104 shillings per litre. Ask yourselves, how much paraffin do you need per week, per homestead? Maybe it will be 1 litre or 2 litres, which comes to 200 shillings. If you're spending 200 shillings every week for 52 weeks, that's 10,000 shillings. Now that 10,000 shillings is enough to get yourself a small Pico system, or maybe even a small SH system. So people are realizing, well, if I spend so much, even on pay as you go, I pay the 200 in a year's time, 1.5 years time, I'll be having my own system. And from there, I don't have to buy fuel. There's been a reduction in the core cost of solar system components. The LEDs are not expensive. The technology is very, very advanced. The input costs, the silicons and so on, they become very, very inexpensive. But of course, I need to put a caveat there. In the last 1.5 years, and because of the this pandemic, there's been a reduction in manufacture of these core systems, core solar system components. And this has spiked slightly the price of these products. But we are hoping that with the systems unclogging, the manufacturers operating fully in China and wherever, the reduction in prices will continue. Of course, there's the flexible payment options available, pay as you go, which has made it easy for people to access without a very huge initial outlay. Okay, so in essence, you're saying, look, if the system is costing, for argument's sake, maybe 10,000, put in your 2,000, you have a balance of 8,000, payable over a period of 16 months. That's an average of 200 shillings per, 8,000 by 16, that's almost 50 shillings per month. Plus interest, even if you pay 70, 80 shillings, is still very, very reasonable compared to the 200 shillings that are paid per week to buy paraffin. There's been a lot of improvement in the efficiency and performance of solar systems. Look, this has been recorded not just in terms of how much power you can get from the solar box, but the length, the duration of time that you can be able to use the power stored therein. We have moved from the use of the red batteries to the lithium, which is very, very efficient in terms of retention of power. So this improved efficiency and performance has really, really led to the popularity of the solar systems. Now, of course, there's been a lot of work done to enhance the products that come to the market. Countries are protecting their consumers. Countries are setting standards on what can be brought into the market, what cannot be brought in. And with the support of the World Bank, there's been an African quality assurance system set in place, giving a checklist of what should the component that should be used in manufacture of the Pico systems, service, and so on. And these are requirements for each and every manufacturer and importer. Here in Kenya, KEBS has been very, very strict in terms of importation of solar products. And they are guided by these global quality assurance standards. And finally, I don't want to place a lot of emphasis on this, the unreliable grid power supply. The other day here in Kenya, we were told that some pylons that collapsed. In the whole country for 24 hours, we didn't have power. If you come in the morning, you are told that there is maintenance going on. Right? Look at internationally. Go to other countries. We don't have this kind of power outages without notice. So people are saying it's time to go to solar. The demand is there, the will is there, and the determination is there. Let's think about innovations in solar energy. Foremost, I don't want to place so much emphasis on alternative payment systems, pay as you go, but it's there. But word of caution, you have to look at the terms of the pay as you go, so that ultimately you don't end up in paying an exorbitant fee for the equipment that you have in the house or the equipment that you want to buy. There's been a shift from monocrystalline to polycrystalline solar panels. Now, even though we still have a lot of monosyncline solar panels in the market, they are pretty more expensive than the poly. However, the monocrystalline has a longer than the polycrystalline. But the key thing here is to ask yourself, what is the use of your solar system before you go either mono or poly? There's been a lot of diversification in the usage. We moved from the basic power, lighting our systems, to more complex, sophisticated uses, wherein nowadays we're able to not just charge your phone, but plug in your laptop. You're able to be even much more complex, do irrigation, much more complex, power your big fridge in the market there, pursue commercial interests when powered by the solar. Of course, without overemphasis, we have small lithium-ion batteries, which are very reliable. They have a lot of longevity. They don't need a lot of maintenance as compared to the lead batteries. Lead batteries, you have to keep on draining and adding more water. So, and that's an extra expense. For the lithium-ion batteries, it's nothing like that. There is an improvement in on energy efficiency lighting, particularly the LED lights. These are diodes that are they don't consume a lot of power, but they're able to light as normally as the conventional, bulbs. And when they are fitted onto the solar system, they're able to provide that lighting for a longer period of time as compared to the conventional bulbs that we have. Let's move on. Next slide. Now, interesting types of batteries. I have highlighted or the need to think through what you need in terms of components of your solar system before you go to the shop. Traditionally, we have had these lead acid bulbs, very common. They're not expensive in terms of the initial consideration, but they become expensive because you have to keep on maintaining them, right? You have to keep on topping them up. And ultimately, even when you look at the lifespan, maybe they'll give you 5 years of service. before you're called upon to do. We have the lithium ion, very efficient for home systems, but also very expensive. But then again, even if you pay a higher price at the point of buying, they don't need regular maintenance. So in essence, you do a cost-benefit analysis. Should I pay an extra $1,000 today and save myself the cost of buying this battery water? Or do I buy the lead acid and I keep on maintaining? At the same time, don't forget that these lithium ion batteries have a very long lifespan. It can give you 10 years. 10 years of service as opposed to the 5 years attributed to lead acid. We have nickel, cadmium. These for very large scale operations. They're quite expensive, but I need to put in a word of caution here. At some point, because of the challenges of getting rid of cadmium, these batteries had been discontinued because this element is very, very harmful to the environment. But with time, manufacturers are trying to come up with ways of disposing of this cadmium, and the batteries have come back into, manufacture. So of course, but for the very, very big commercial enterprises. We have the flow batteries. The concept is very, very easy. Wherein you use one side of the battery, it gets depleted, then move to the next component or compartment of the battery. So it keeps on alternating. They have a lot of capacity for storage. They are excellent for large-scale solar plants. But at the same time, they are quite pricey. So in a nutshell, if you're doing an operation at home, would go into either lithium or the lead acid. Those are within the realm of what you're discussing. But the nickel and flow batteries, those are for commercial purposes. But again, there's no harm in getting to know about the different applications. In summary, so far as the batteries are concerned, you look at the longevity, you look at maintenance cost, the initial outlay in terms of a price, and of course, where you're going to use the same. Can move on to the next slide. So what's the future of the Pico? Do we have a future? Yes, we do. Because we are expanding, we are getting no more. We are doing a lot of innovations, and we are expanding the use of the same. We are saying initially we could just use a box for charging. Now, one box like the one that is in front of us can drive the fan, you charge your torch, the radio, the TV, and at the same time connect up to 5 or so many LED bulbs. So it means that this system that is in front of us here can serve a 5-roomed house, and at the same time provide these other services. Listen to the radio, you have your torch, you have your fan. You might decide to remove the fan and throw in the TV. So this is the scale which I've we have expanded in the scale of application from the basic of writing to so many different applications. And this is the kind of innovation that we're experiencing. And many people, as I said in Kenya, have now shifted, outgrown the Pico, and now they're going into the micro systems because of the driving forces, the need for information, the prices of kerosene, and at the same time, the unreliability of power supply, and of course, the knowledge of innovations that are coming up gradually into our market. We are evolving, and we continue evolving as a people. And as we evolve, we who are players in the market respond to that evolution. As we get to see new things, we introduce them into the country so that people are best placed to enjoy better services from free solar. Features of a good solar system. Very interesting. Foremost, can you go to the next slide? Look at the durability. You don't want to buy an equipment today, be it a solar pump, be it a TV, be it a fridge, be it a charger, and in 2 months' time, that item is dead, is in disuse. You must always ask yourself, how durable is this product? We've spoken about the durability of batteries, we've spoken about the durability of the solar panels. That's very, very critical because this is an investment. And as you do your investment, you expect a return over a period of time. So always ask yourself, what's the durability of this product? These are product performance. If you're told that this product, this solar pump, will do 4,000 liters per hour or 1,000 liters per hour, it must perform exactly that. It's no compromise. That's what you've been promised. And that's why you keep on saying, fine, this product is in the market. Where can we demonstrate its performance? Not on the paper, but in the field. So you must always get that reference. It's very, very important. Otherwise, it will not perform, and you'd have to go and buy a replacement. And it means that it's not being durable as per what you've been promised in the user manual. There's of course the system quality. The quality I mean, does it meet environmental standards? Does it provide, if it's a TV, are the visuals okay? If it's a fridge, does it cool the food, the drinks, to the required temperatures? Is it working as per the specifications? These are room and maintenance, wherein you're saying if it's a solar light, does it give the brilliance that's been promised? At the same time, let's also not forget that with these solar panels, we have to keep them maintained, clean at all times, remove all the dust and so on, so that we can be able now to benefit fully from the point of solar absorption, conversion, and transmission to your units. The warranty issues. Now, every product that you buy must have a warranty, a manufacturer warranty, not the seller warranty. And you must be able to certify yourself that this warranty will be executed. And you need a finer print on the warranty contract. Because obviously you don't want a situation whereby you buy an item today, it does not perform, tomorrow you return it and you're told, sorry, this is electrical. Again, without selling ourselves, we at Sydenham, for a solar light, we are giving a 3 years warranty. 3 years warranty. And you don't have to go to, you'll not be tossed about up and down. Say this product has an issue, it's replaced on the spot, right? At the same time, before you move away from the warranty, because it's very, very important, make sure that whoever is supplying you the product can assure you and has demonstrated respect for warranty terms, right? Now my question here, you as participants, now introspection, what features would you look at when you're shopping for a solar system? I'm listening. Yes, participants, you are many. Kwame, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Does anyone have, so there's a question for us here about what would we be looking for in selecting, what features would you personally look for in shopping for a solar system? So anyone, you could just raise your hand and then switch on your, turn on your mic and tell us what you'd like to. Even if you're shy and you don't want to turn on your camera, please let's hear from there are 26 of us. What would we like from, what features would you personally look for when shopping for a solar system? Can I hear anyone? Anyone? All right, there's no one, but let me answer, Mr. Trudy.
Right.
Oh, okay, there's a hand. Sorry, there's a hand. Let me allow someone to ask. There's a hand here by 1 minute. There's a hand by Peter Machado. Yes, Peter.
Good morning.
Good morning, Peter. Go ahead.
Yeah, for me, definitely in terms of reliability and cost effectiveness, because I think one of the biggest barriers for solar in our country is the cost. So for me, I think what would work for me is something that is reliable, but also cost effective, affordable.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks, Peter. Anyone else? Anyone else would like to say what you'd look for when you're looking for a solar system? All right, okay. I was going to mention reliability as well, because I think reliability is good. And as you've told us, what the features of a good one. So obviously that system performance or product performance is something that I think is useful, especially since Mr. Muturi has demonstrated that the technology performance is improving and the costs are also dropping. So obviously that convergence shows that any system that you buy is going to be competitive. So one of the ways to assess it in use is whether it performs well enough based on, suitability for what a household would choose. Yeah.
Okay, any other person? Thank you very much, Kwame and Peter. These are very, very, very good responses, because obviously people have to look at the pocket. Money is not available, but at the same time, when you try to balance cost effectiveness and reliability, then of course it becomes very, very delicate. So let me put it this way. Cheap is very expensive. And with solar systems, you'd rather spend that extra coin not the most, but also make sure that you get something that is reliable. Because you could buy a cheap one today, then tomorrow you find yourself going to the market to do a replacement. You pay double, and yet if you paid 1.5 or 1.20%, you'd have ended up with a very, very reliable product that is fit for the purpose that it was intended. So when you are selecting solar power systems, always get branded.